Good morning, everybody. I'm Angela Armstrong, the Executive Director of the Bar Association. Kelly will not be with us today. He is off in the Maine woods canoeing down some river. So he sends his regrets, but welcome to all of you. I'm still admitting people as we talk here, I'm sorry. I am happy to introduce you to Lori Boxer-McComber. She's the president of the MTLA right now. She has a quick announcement for us before we move on to Michelle Draeger, who is the executive director of the Maine Justice Foundation. So Lori, go ahead.
Thank you, Angela. Good morning, everyone. As Angela said, my name is Lori Boxer-McComber. I am the current president of the Maine Trial Lawyers Association. And I just am popping into your meeting this morning to let everyone know that the Maine Trial Lawyers Association has put out a survey that we would like as many members of the Maine Bar to complete as possible. And we put this survey out in response to Chief Justice Mead's request that we survey our membership, and we thought it was also helpful to get other memberships input about how remote proceedings have been working for folks, not just depositions or mediations, but any type of remote proceeding. And so our organization has a survey on the front page of our website, mtla.org, and we're hopeful that you all can, if you're ahead of any particular organization or group or on a listserv, that you can let people know about the survey so that we can provide comprehensive feedback to the court. And the court has also put out its own call for feedback, but I want people to know that our survey results are going to go directly to the court, and hopefully we can have the most robust set of data to provide to the court as possible. So I invite you all to fill it out yourselves and share that with as many people as possible so that we can get the pros, the cons, the thoughts, the creative proposals for moving forward with hybrid processes or other processes as the courts start to reopen and rebuild. So thank you very much. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to take those before regular programming takes over.
Any questions for Lori? Okay, thanks, Lori.
Thank you.
And we'll be sure to put that out on our social media as well. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thanks for joining us today. So next we have Michelle Draeger, who is the executive director of the Maine Justice Foundation, and she's going to be talking to us today about the Racial Justice Fund. So I'm going to turn it over to Michelle, and welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. I am delighted to be here. As a relatively new executive director of the Maine Justice Foundation, I started almost exactly a year ago. In fact, last May 18th. And I started at the Justice Foundation understanding and delighted to work toward our mission of ensuring access to justice for vulnerable Mainers, particularly the economically vulnerable. And historically, we've done this by administering the IOLTA program, Interest on Lawyer Trust Accounts, the Campaign for Justice, and granting funds from privately created endowments to the 6 core legal service providers: Pine Tree Legal Assistance, Immigrant Legal Services Project, Legal Services for the Elderly, Maine Equal Justice, Volunteer Lawyers Project, and Cumberland Legal Aid Clinic. And we also assist with the administration of the Maine Civil Legal Services Fund. So last year when I started this role, of course, we were in the middle of a pandemic. We're still sort of in a pandemic, hopefully on the tail end. And I was in the middle of remote working, beginning the leadership of this organization from home, and in the middle of assisting my then 4th grade daughter with at-home learning. And let me just tell you that long division is not what it used to be. So I've learned a lot of different things over the last year. And at the time, this country was also in the midst of a racial justice reckoning, as we all know, with the horrific killings of several Black Americans, including Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and almost a week after I started, George Floyd. And as collectively we watched this unfold, as we actually watched George Floyd's murder on the evening news, it felt like we had to do something. And I thought about our mission, and it struck me that our mission to ensure justice to vulnerable Mainers also includes ensuring justice to BIPOC Mainers, Black, Indigenous, and people of color among us. And this perfectly fit within our larger purpose. So with this, we raised a couple of significant donations from some corporate entities, some financial service firms in Portland. And we began a long process of having conversations about educating ourselves about racial justice and equity. We spoke with leaders of BIPOC communities in Maine. We engaged in some internal reflection and still are within our organization to educate ourselves. And we had a lot of conversations in the fundraising realm with corporate partners who were all working in solidarity to embrace our new collective goal of addressing racial justice and equity. And in this process, we decided that we needed to develop a grants committee from outside our organization that was diverse in many respects, that could bring perspective to our process of addressing racial justice and equity. And then while we were fundraising, we started thinking about this in the way that we always had, as a traditional endowment. And that's sort of what we had always done. We build large corpus funds, and at some point when the corpus is large enough, we began to grant those funds out, and from the proceeds. And as I thought about that, and as I thought about where we were, that didn't seem right. And it seemed like we needed to adjust our approach, because we recognized that the need for granting monies in this realm was not only immediate, but it had existed for multiple decades. And so we built sort of a hybrid fund where we could grant funds almost immediately, but also work toward building a corpus for long-term grants, because we know this work will continue for a long time. So last September, after a long summer of having a lot of conversations, we raised many founder level donations of $10,000 among 22 corporate donors across the state, a substantial grant from the Stephen and Tabitha King Foundation, and we publicly rolled out the Racial Justice Fund. Since that time, and with other individual and corporate donations, we have raised over $400,000 to date. And our supporters include very notable names: Hannaford Androscoggin Savings Bank, Central Maine Power, Bangor Savings Bank, several of Maine's big law firms: Bernstein Scher, Drummond Woodsum, Barrell, Pierce Atwood. And we assembled an incredible advisory committee of lawyers, academics, and public officials, including Black and Indigenous Mainers, to help us define what the guidelines for grant making from the fund would be. And so in the midst of this fundraising process, educating ourselves, and trying to embark upon immediate grant making, we actually just issued our first grants in April to 6 organizations. In the span of 2 weeks, where we issued an RFP for grant applications, we received over 42 applications, which really punctuated the need for this work and this attention. And, we're happy to say, as we posted on our website, we've issued grants to the Greater Portland Immigrant Welcome Center, the Healthy Acadia Down East Diversity Project, League of Women Voters of Maine Education Fund, Maine Inside Out, Sunlight Media Collective, and the Third Place. And our focus for grant making during this round was BIPOC participation, both in the organization and in the project itself. geographic diversity across Maine, and the goal of having statewide impact. So that's where we landed with this, this particular grant round. And this process, I will say, has been really eye-opening for me, because we received so many amazing applications from so many organizations dedicated to addressing systemic racism in our state. And I really wish we could have funded them all. So we're really motivated to grow the fund to a level where we can increase the grants. We can offer more grants to more organizations, and we can have a greater impact. So with that, we're still engaged in fundraising from individuals and corporations alike. And if anyone has any questions or interest in donating, you can always look at our website, justicemaine.org. Go to the grants and programs page for more information about the Racial Justice Fund, our advisory committee, and our partnership with other organizations like the Kennebunkport Climate Initiative, who also partnered with us with matching grants to some of those organizations. So that's one example of a project that we're working on right now and that we wanted to highlight today. But we're very busy also with the Campaign for Justice and so many other initiatives. So I'm delighted to be here and happy to answer any questions.
Does anybody have any questions for Michelle? I'm not seeing any in chat right now.
Everyone's
Well,
busy going to our website, making donations, so there's no questions at the moment.
That's right. Visit justicemaine.org, right?
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Michelle. If we receive any questions after the fact, I'll send them your way. So I'm going to quickly share my screen now and go over just a few items that some of which I'm sure you're aware of. As of right now, effective May 24th, Maine will adopt the United States CDC guidance that's been put out about face masks and social distancing and capacity limits, which will all, obviously fully vaccinated goes back to being somewhat normal, I guess, at this point. I've heard through the grapevine it might happen a little sooner than May 24th, which is only a week from today, but we'll see. Right now, the order states May 24th. That being said, the governor did renew the state of civil emergency through June 12th. And so that is still in effect till next month. If you hadn't heard, Governor Mills has nominated Justice Valerie Stanfill as the next Chief Justice to the Maine Supreme Judicial Court. I'm assuming we will hear something soon about the hearing, the confirmation hearing with the Judiciary Committee, and then of course it has to go to the full legislature after that. So we'll post any dates as we hear them. Haven't heard anything yet. As same as last week, the judicial branch is inviting input on the post-COVID planning. There's an email there on the slide that you can submit any recommendations to, as well as they're inviting amicus briefs. Amicus briefs on anti-SLAPP suits, and now those are due by June 8th. And there are still a few closings or closures for the courts still through the month. Through the month of May. So make sure you always check out the judicial website. As far as MSBA updates, reminder, save the date for the Summer Bar Conference. We are doing it virtually because when we had to sign the contract and start the planning, we still were very unsure as to where we were going to stand at this point in the year. And we also were unsure, even if we held it in person, how many people would feel comfortable or how many people just wouldn't necessarily want to go somewhere when they've been missing out on family time. So there were a whole bunch of things taken into consideration. So we will be holding it via Zoom. It'll be an all-day Thursday event and then half a day Friday. Next week, we have employment law attorney Anne Marie Story. She will be talking a lot about the vaccine and what you can expect either from your employer or as an employer on all the stuff that's kind of going on right now. And I think her being on next week is very timely with the changes going back and for those who are not vaccinated versus those who are. There will be no bar talk on the 31st. That is a holiday. And then we'll kick back off on June 7th. So the wellness tip comes, I did not do a practice tip today, but the wellness tip came from me, and this is something I've done here at the office, and as an employer, you can also take part, is I've had a masseuse come in with a chair and provided chair massages to the employees. We kind of schedule them throughout the day. And for those who are interested, you don't have to, but if for those who are interested, can get up to like a 15-minute chair massage. And it's really, we've done it a few times here at the office, and it's a real morale booster. And I just got a note that from one of my staff on the call that says it's time to do that again. So I put it in their ear. And then my gratitude today is facing those challenges that I appreciate those challenges that allow me to grow both, physically, emotionally, professionally. That's what makes us better. And so I'm grateful for those. So if nobody has anything else to add, I'm going to close down today. Again, thank you, Michelle, for joining us. Thank you, Lori, for your update. And I hope you all have a great week. We'll see you next time.